As I hold this little light in my hands right now, this precious little girl, I actually want to start a conversation on corporal punishment. The conversation that's been happening around this and the question of whether or not it should be reintroduced into schools. Obviously, I have a lot of thoughts on it, and I don't necessarily agree with it. So let's just start there. I had mentioned that I wanted to discuss on corporal punishment and share my take on the same. I'm just going to briefly do that. First, let's start with the definition. Corporal punishment, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, defines it as the infliction of physical pain upon a person's body as punishment for a crime or infraction. Corporal punishments include flogging, beating, branding, mutilating, blinding, and the use of stock or pillory. In a broad sense, the term also denotes the physical disciplining of children in schools and at home. So the conversation that was being had in a news segment that I was watching, where parents and students and educators and ministries take on the same was being said, they said that the causes of the same are as follows: students fearing exams, exam anxiety, drug use and abuse, lack of spiritual values, communication breakdown between students and teachers and parents, indiscipline, failure to manage education properly or understanding the educational psychology surrounding learning. And plainly, one of them said students are to blame because of peer pressure and lack of communication. Well, for me, with the history of corporal punishment in schools prior to my move to the States, was that we knew it was existing. So I had 3 times in which I moved through different systems. One before when I was younger, one when I was in elementary to now junior high, and then now high school onwards to university. And each one I experienced a different form of, I guess, correction or discipline within the schools. So prior to our move, we knew that it was present, and I saw it. This is under the age of 5. So if you did something wrong, you get a slap on the wrist or like a ruler, and such methods that were being used. Where in the States, I remember my parents, after the news came out that it was outlawed, and they informed us, just having a sense of like being very happy as a child that that's not something that I'm going to go back to and have inflicted on me. So you can imagine that. Just hearing news about your home country and being like, that's not going to happen anymore. It's crazy. But my experience with the educational system in America is more of they're not allowed to do that. Flogging and spanking and such does not happen in schools. There are laws that are in place against it, not allowing the same. Most times, there's a system in which discipline is done, given warning, sent to the principal's office, counseling, the parents are called, and the likes. And hopefully, through that, as a student talks and is being disciplined, they change. But now, in a very open door policy, when you're talking to teachers, when we come back, and I won't mention the high school I went to, I'll just share 2 experiences, or at least one major one that happened. A student had started talking to now the headmistress of the school, so now like the principal, and sharing their story. Unfortunately, they were sent to the school to reform in a way because they were from outside the country. I guess in the process, from what I gathered, they had opened up now to this parent figure, this counselor. And one day we were sitting in the classroom because it's more or less set up like a, I don't know, primary school kind of setup. She just walked in. And I guess she was having a bad day. Well, the educator was having a bad day. And we had our teacher, who was the head teacher of our class, now our freshman year class, if you want to call it that, but it's called Form 1 in Kenya, talking to us. So she walked in, of course, he gave her time to speak, and she just started talking to this young woman and asking her questions. And unfortunately, in the process, she started sharing details about her life that the rest of us were not privy to. I was so shocked. But you just sit there and keep quiet, look down at your books. What are you going to do about it? And the girl decided that she's had enough. She doesn't want to yell. She doesn't want to fight. She wants to get up and leave the classroom. To my utter shock, the head teacher, who was now for our year, stood at the door and blocked her, only to have now the headmistress go to her and start asking her, "Where do you think you're going?" And everything within me was just like, this is not an okay situation. This should not be happening. And out of nowhere, she's like, I just want to leave. I don't want to be here. She started crying because why are you sharing information that I shared with you in confidence with other people? And the pounding just began. It was a literal instilling, I guess you could say, corporal punishment, but it was a beatdown on a 5'0" girl who could barely 55 kgs, who couldn't do anything because these are two grown adults that are in a position of authority and power. We're supposed to be helping her teach. Just go in after her. I remember having my desk mate, now the person that you sit next to, and my sister behind me because she was still in the same school as me. And I was about to get up because to me it was like, we have to stop this. And I don't know why it wasn't a collective like rise up and like help for them to just like pull me down and be like, you need to keep quiet. You don't do it. You'll get yourself in trouble. You'll get yourself in trouble. I don't know how long it lasted for. And then at the end, I think she just went back to her chair and was like crying. But I remember just going after that and trying to console her, and everyone else trying to gather around her and be like, it's going to be okay after they had left the room. I was, to be say, I was shocked. It doesn't describe the situation. I went home that day so sad, so depressed, and with tears in my eyes, explaining the situation to my parent, who in the moment could not do anything because they weren't there. They had a witness. They weren't the parents. Where was the forum for this to be discussed? And only to be told, it's gonna be okay. I'm sorry that you had to witness that. Look out for yourself. Like, don't get in with anything that's happening, and feeling completely and utterly helpless in a situation that, yes, there were some infractions that were had, but it did not warrant the kind of actions that befell that girl. I have never forgotten that. And to me, it was very much something that could have been dealt with by just sitting down, counseling her, talking to her, addressing issues with her, and having it come from the person who's supposed to be at like the ethics to assist. It blew my mind. Because to me, I thought, we're okay, we're safe, there are protocols in place. I don't have to worry about being beaten or have a stick being taken and like anything like that. And everything within me just wanted to protect myself and protect my brother and my sister who were in the same institution, still the same area, like school, but learning from the same place. And I think that day I just talked to my mom. She was able to calm me down and reassure me as best as she can. And I just said, if at all that I've ever sent home or you're called, just know that I was not going to let somebody touch this bodily autonomy that I have. And this is when I'm 14, 15. But aside from that, I've had various discussions with my friends, now being in like my mid-20s, understanding just how much that physical discipline has played a role in how they view themselves and the kind of relationships that they have with their parents. And what I gather from majority of it is none of them feel like they can come to them for anything. It's instilling fear. It's not inspiring confidence in them to have discussions, go to them for advice, and it can ruin relationships. As has been said, a lot of science has been done and tests been done to find that it has a negative impact psychologically, physically, and it can actually cause harm. The kind of methods that we're using to discipline children in schools, yes, for behavior that they're having, which should be addressed, isn't helping. And I don't understand why we feel the need to continue pushing violence as an answer, because anytime you raise a hand, that's an act. You're showing them that we're not saying it's okay, you're just doing it to them. But from a legal standpoint, there are laws in place, internationally and domestic, that protect and preserve children, students, even grown adults, that respect your space. Assault is not allowed. Abuse is not allowed. Whether it's physical, verbal, emotional, it's not condoned. But to try to now bring it back when we've already moved so far ahead and we've had science and psychologists and people tell you time and time again, even from those interviews, that they feared their teachers. They did not like them. The relationship was more strained. Of what benefit is it to allow people who may or may not know how to show restraint in disciplining have that? Because why do you feel the need to hurt people to solve an issue that can be solved using other methods? But just to sum it up, there's an article that one of my friends wrote, and I'll share it. But his take was, to reinstate corporal punishment in schools, the following must be done. 1, ignore the science and the effective use of violence on children done by various respectable universities like University of Nairobi, Harvard, and UNICEF. 2, you must amend Articles 29 and 53 of the Constitution of Kenya, which protect individuals from such violence. 3, you must amend Section 4P of the Basic Education Act. 4, you must ignore the existence of the Prohibition Against Domestic Violence Act 2015, which corporal punishment and any form of abuse is addressed in there and isn't allowed. So as we're having this discussion, don't run to the first thing that you knew. Just because something was done for a long time does not make it the proper means to address situations that are facing us today. And really ask yourself, what kind of relationships as parents, as educators, do you want to have with the children that you're impacting? If you want them to be able to come to you and have discussions with you and share their grievances, you have to let them know that you're there for them and you will listen. And it's a conversation. Because you're not just here to instill fear. That's not your job. Trust me, respect will be given to you because already they look up to you. But once you sever that, it is very, very hard to heal people that have been exposed to that. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. And I hope this conversation is had on a deeper level and we address those issues. Keep children safe. And keep your family and your friend unit safe as well. We don't condone violence. Thank you.